In recent years, the Castlevania franchise has seen a massive surge in popularity, owing it to Netflix's highly successful animated series. This show garnered immense acclaim and introduced thousands of new fans to the world of Castlevania. Such was its triumph that shortly after the series concluded, Netflix made the exciting decision to commission a spin-off series and give us Castlevania Nocturne. However, it is essential to acknowledge that the Castlevania universe extends far beyond the animated series, encompassing over 30 famous video games, various spin-offs, a comic series, a magazine, novels, an animated series, an internet radio drama, and even some ventures into the realm of pachinko and slot machines. At its core, Castlevania revolves around the epic saga of the Belmont clan, the legendary vampire hunters, and their perpetual struggle across the ages against the nefarious Count Dracula and other frightening vampires. Amidst this vast sea of Castlevania content, there exists a whole lineage of Belmonts, each embroiled in their unique adventures across alternate universes. But it should be noted that the Belmont clan's origins as vampire hunters were not established until after the events of Castlevania: Lament of Innocence. It was during this time that Leon Belmont made a solemn vow to combat the forces of darkness, marking the inception of the Belmont legacy and their role as vampire hunters. Simultaneously, the iconic weapon known as the Vampire Killer, which would become the Belmonts' primary tool in their battle against the supernatural, was forged. Anyway, that seems like a topic for another video. But in this one, we will put our sole focus on understanding and exploring the lineage and legacy of the Belmont family in the Castlevania franchise. So without wasting another moment, let's get right into this. Before we go into our explanation, we have a very small request. If you like our content, please support us by subscribing to our channel. This is a small click for you, but for us it means a lot. Thank you, and let's begin.
I have the power to destroy all related to the vampires.
Leon Belmont. In the 11th century, Leon Belmont very much laid the foundation for a timeless legacy of vampire hunting that would shape his family for generations. Although the Belmont clan had existed long before Leon, he was the pioneer who first wielded the fabled Whip of Alchemy, which would later gain renown as the iconic Vampire Killer Whip, famously wielded by Trevor Belmont in the animated series. But Leon's early life was marked by tragedy as he lost both parents during his childhood. Despite these hardships, his exceptional skills and unwavering determination propelled him to become a noble knight by the remarkably young age of 16. However, his life took an abrupt turn when a malevolent vampire named Walter Bernard abducted his beloved betrothed Sarah Trantoul. Later, in a courageous act of sacrifice, Sarah bestowed Leon with the power needed to confront and vanquish Bernard. With her love as his guiding force, Leon successfully defeated the vampire and narrowly escaped death. Yet his triumph was bittersweet, as he later uncovered a harrowing revelation that his close friend Matthias Cronquist would ultimately transform into a monstrous entity that came to be known as Dracula. So, determined to protect humanity from the malevolence that had befallen Matthias, Leon pledged that his clan would wage an eternal war against Dracula and all forms of evil. Fortunately, this solemn vow found resonance among his descendants, who shared his dedication to eradicating vampires and malevolent forces. It's worth noting that Leon's remarkable journey is chronicled in Castlevania: Lament of Innocence, a pivotal installment that delves into the origins of the Belmont legacy, despite being the 20th entry in this franchise. Trevor Belmont. Trevor C. Belmont, a distinguished member of the ancient Belmont clan of vampire hunters, came into prominence during the 15th century. His debut occurred in the iconic 1989-1990 game Castlevania III: Dracula's Curse, where he assumed the role of the main protagonist. Trevor's character has endured across various iterations, even reappearing in the Pachislot Akumajo Dracula sub-series. In the Castlevania lore, the Belmont clan, including Trevor, lived on the fringes of society, shunned and feared due to their supernatural abilities. 4 centuries later, Trevor Belmont rose to the occasion to uphold the family legacy by confronting Dracula's reign of terror in Wallachia. His heroic journey saw him forming alliances with the rebel Grand Dynasty, the powerful magician Sifo Belnades, and even Dracula's own son Alucard. Eventually, Trevor's triumph over Dracula not only solidified his family's reputation, but also shifted public perception from fear to respect. But Trevor's legacy extends beyond his initial appearance. He's made numerous cameos and played pivotal roles in various Castlevania titles and related productions. Notably, he takes center stage as a supporting character in Castlevania, Curse of Darkness, and its visual novel adaptation. In this installment, he even assumes a playable role, offering players a unique adventure and combat style. Anyways, after the demise of Dracula and his castle, Trevor married Sypha, and together they shared the blessing of a daughter named Sonia. Although it is worth noting that Sonia's video game storyline in Castlevania Legends has since been retconned. Overall, Trevor's initial appearance in Castlevania Dracula's Curse was only the beginning, as his legacy continued in subsequent games like Curse of Darkness and Judgment, further contributing to the enduring lore of the Belmont clan and their tireless battle against the forces of darkness. Christopher Belmont. Merely a century after Trevor's heroic feats, his great-grandson Christopher Belmont found himself confronting the same malevolent force his ancestors had battled, the immortal Count Dracula. This installment was the first to establish the recurring pattern of Dracula's natural resurrection every century, a sinister cycle untamed by cultish rituals. Christopher, in response to the imminent threat to his homeland, seized the vampire killer whip and embarked on a courageous quest to confront Dracula. However, in a dramatic twist, Christopher did not succeed in permanently vanquishing the vampire lord. Instead, he managed to weaken Dracula, forcing him to escape in the form of a bat. A decade and a half later, in the year 1591, Christopher's relentless pursuit led to a final confrontation with Dracula, culminating in the vampire's ultimate defeat. This epic battle unfolded after Dracula abducted Christopher's son, Soleil, and ensnared him in a dark, malevolent influence. Notably, Christopher's courageous saga is chronicled in the fifth installment of the franchise, Castlevania The Adventure, as well as its sequel, Castlevania II Belmont's Revenge. His heroic journey not only continued the legacy of the Belmont clan, but also shed light on the recurring battle against Dracula, highlighting the indomitable spirit of the Belmonts in the face of supernatural evil. Soleil Belmont. In 1591, 15 years after the legendary battle fought by Christopher Belmont against Count Dracula, the Belmont legacy took a dark and tragic turn. Soleil Belmont, Christopher's son, was diligently training to embrace his family's vampire hunting tradition. When the pivotal moment in Soleil's life was on the horizon, the ceremony where he would officially assume the title of a vampire hunter and inherit the fabled vampire killer whip, a nightmarish twist of fate unfolded and Soleil was kidnapped by Count Dracula. During his captivity, Dracula exerted his malevolent influence over Soleil, corrupting the young man and compelling him to aid in the vampire lord's resurrection. Christopher Belmont, aware of his son's plight, embarked on a perilous quest to rescue Soleil and confront Dracula once more. In a climactic showdown, Christopher successfully saved his son and vanquished the vampire lord. Yet, the revelation of Soleil turning into a demonic entity became a scandal within the Belmont family, tarnishing their reputation once more. With the aid of Soleil's demonic form, Dracula regained his human guise. The ominous arrival of four foreboding castles to the northeast of the village heralded the return of the vampire lord and a fresh wave of terror, setting the stage for a new chapter in the Belmont family's enduring battle against the forces of darkness. Simon Belmont. Simon Belmont, the great-grandson of Christopher Belmont, emerges as a central figure in the Castlevania series, starring as the lead character in over 5 titles. His reputation as the most renowned vampire hunter of the Belmont clan is well-earned. Having repeatedly vanquished Dracula and his malevolent forces, Simon's prowess with weapons, particularly his iconic vampire killer whip, marked him as an expert in combat. However, in contrast to some of his Belmont predecessors, he inherited little of the Belnati's magical talents. Simon's character epitomizes a more barbarian-like approach, distinct from the reluctant heroes or honorable knights often seen in his family's lineage. This very demeanor may have contributed to his unparalleled success as a vampire hunter. Through his relentless battles against evil, Simon played a pivotal role in restoring the Belmont family name. They transitioned from being perceived as intimidating troublemakers to revered protectors against malevolence, aligning with the original intentions of Leon Belmont. Despite rumors of Dracula's increasing strength with each resurrection, Simon fearlessly ventured alone into the vampire's castle on numerous occasions, even when severely wounded and cursed by Dracula with a wound that defied healing. Simon remained undeterred. In 1698, he unearthed the secret to breaking the curse, necessitating the collection and incineration of Dracula's remains. Unexpectedly, the discovery of a sixth body part previously known to Simon reanimated the Count. However, Simon emerged victorious once more, defeating Dracula and finally freeing himself from the curse, securing Transylvania's safety once again.
Juste Belmont, your grandfather.
Juste Belmont. By the 18th century, Simon Belmont's legacy had elevated the Belmont reputation to such an extent that a thriving village had sprung up around the clan. This flourishing environment provided a stable upbringing for Juste Belmont, Simon's grandson. Juste's childhood was marked by close relationships with Maxim and Lydie Erlanger, solidifying their bonds as companions. Juste, uniquely endowed with the magical talents inherited from the Belnades lineage, stood as a sole Belmont known for his proficiency in summoning spells and the use of familiars. However, Maxim's misguided attempts to prove his strength against the Belmont's legacy led to his possession of Dracula's malevolent influence. In a heartbreaking twist, Juste found himself compelled to battle his dear friend in a desperate bid to rescue Lydie, the object of Maxim's affection. Notably, the tale of Juste Belmont, chronicled in harmony of dissonance, unfolds with multiple possible endings. In the most extreme outcomes, Juste could either tragically lose both his friends or valiantly save them from the clutches of Dracula's evil influence. 50 years following Simon's monumental victory against Dracula's curse, a mysterious event unfurled. The cursed castle materialized once more, shrouded in an ominous mist, triggered by the suspicious circumstances surrounding Lydie's kidnapping and Maxim's return from an expedition. In an unwavering pursuit of the truth, Juste embarked on a treacherous journey to uncover the castle's enigmatic secrets. Along the way, he unraveled the unsettling connection between the castle's resurgence and Maxim's alter ego. Ultimately, Juste confronted a wraith bearing Dracula's visage, born from Maxim's conflicted emotions and the relics that bound him. Though it was not the true Count, Juste demonstrated his power and courage in battling this invulnerable adversary, successfully rescuing his friends and preserving the Belmont legacy of protecting humanity from the forces of darkness. In the recent Castlevania spin-off, Juste makes a pretty poignant appearance as Richter Belmont's grandfather. Now, here he is no longer seen as an active vampire hunter. Juste was a powerful magician in his youth and demonstrated his prowess by slaying thousands of vampires. He married Lydie and they had a daughter named Julia. Tragedy struck when Lydie was murdered, leading Juste to abandon his magical abilities and the will to fight. He also chose not to depart with his daughter. Following Julia's untimely death at the hands of Olrox, Juste watched over his grandson Richter from a distance, providing financial support through Terra. Their unexpected reunion occurred in a tavern, where Richter, hungry and short on funds, encountered his grandfather. Juste secretly used Richter's whip to eliminate a vampire threat, revealing his true identity. Juste shared his past with Richter and sought to understand Julia's final moments. Later, when Richter faced another vampire ambush, Juste's presence reignited Richter's latent magic, ultimately leading to their triumphant battle against the undead horde. Richter Belmont. Richter Belmont takes a center stage in 5 different installments. In Richter's era, a sinister resurrection of Dracula orchestrated by malevolent acolytes transpires, accompanied by the abduction of Richter's beloved Annette and the entire village. Throughout the story, Richter embarks on a valiant mission to gradually rescue the villagers from the clutches of Dracula's minions. A chance encounter with Maria Renard, a distant relative of the Belmonts, sees her joining Richter's cause. Despite her young age, alongside Maria and the enigmatic Alucard, Richter journeys to save their captive loved ones and confront the dread Count Dracula. Their heroic efforts culminate in Dracula's demise, but the sinister Shaft, the architect of the Vampire Lord's revival, endures, manipulating Richter, Shaft threatens to plunge him into darkness. Alucard and Maria unite to rescue Richter, and together they confront the malevolent vampire lord. Following these trials, Richter grapples with the lingering influence of evil, but ultimately chooses to continue the mantle of a vampire hunter. He embarks on further adventures with friends, relentlessly pursuing the followers of Dracula. In the end, Richter finds happiness with Annette, while Alucard's bond with Maria, whether interpreted as romantic or platonic, reflects the enduring camaraderie forged through their shared battles against the forces of darkness. Now, in the new Netflix spin-off series, Richter Belmont has been introduced as the main protagonist. Haunted by his mother Julia's murder at the hands of Olrox, Richter Belmont dedicated his life to eradicating vampires and creatures of the night. Alongside Maria Renard and other allies, he strived to prevent the emergence of the foretold vampire messiah, Elizabeth Bathory. Richter's quest leads him to discover Juste Belmont, rekindling his latent magical abilities that had lain dormant since his mother's tragic death. Driven by vengeance and a commitment to protect humanity, Richter's relentless pursuit of justice shapes his powerful vampire hunting legacy within the series as he teams up with Annette, Maria, and Alucard. Julia Belmont. Julia Belmont is a prominent character in the Netflix original animated series, Castlevania Nocturne. As a descendant of the esteemed Belmont lineage, she embodies the legacy of Trevor Belmont and Sypha Belmontes, hailing from the bloodline of Juste Belmont and serving as the nurturing mother of Richter Belmont. Julia is portrayed as a woman in the prime of her youth, characterized by her fair complexion, striking violet eyes, and almond brown hair, which she keeps in a low ponytail, partially veiling one eye. Her attire reflects her noble lineage as she dons a flowing dark blue tailcoat with a white interior, adorned with the emblematic Belmont clan insignia on a golden tag. Julia's outfit includes a white top, revealing a glimpse of her bust, and a black choker adorning her neck. Her hands are ensconced in black leather gloves, and she wears brown, form-fitting breeches with an additional belt that secures the vampire killer whip. Julia Belmont exemplifies the qualities of a loving mother and a valiant vampire hunter, staying true to the esteemed Belmont legacy. She recognizes the imminent danger her son Richter faces and attempts to ensure his safety by sending him away to France, despite his initial reluctance. When confronted by the powerful Olrox, Julia demonstrates unwavering bravery, fighting to the last breath to shield Richter from harm. In the eyes of Juste, Julia was depicted as a proud and independent woman embarking on her vampire hunting mission in the New World without relying on her father's assistance. Julius Belmont. Julius Belmont, the last known pure-blood descendant of the illustrious Belmont lineage, marked a new era for Castlevania. In the year 1999, Julius wielded the iconic vampire killer whip and vanquished Dracula, predating the video game narratives that would later unfold. His adventures, however, entered on a different chapter in his life, characterized by amnesia and a relentless mission to thwart a cult's attempts at resurrecting the malevolent vampire lord. Distinguished by his age, Julius defied the archetype of youthful Castlevania protagonists, confronting the forces of evil in his 50s. Throughout his journey, he encountered and collaborated with another notable Castlevania hero, Soma Cruz, who grappled with the encroaching powers and influence of Dracula's legacy, seeking to dominate him. Julius Belmont featured prominently in Castlevania titles such as Area of Sorrow, Dawn of Sorrow, and Harmony of Despair. Born into the 20th century, he inherited the Belmont legacy as the first full-blooded heir since Richter Belmont. Together with his comrades, Julius orchestrated the ultimate defeat of Dracula in 1999, sealing the vampire's castle with a solar eclipse. His reputation as the most powerful vampire hunter of his era was firmly established, as affirmed in Aria of Sorrow. Sid Belmont. Sid Belmont is a notable character featured in the alternate timeline gamebook titled The Legend of Satanic Castle: The Vampire Hunters. In this narrative, Sid Belmont emerges as a descendant of the renowned vampire hunter Trevor Belmont. While the precise lineage remains somewhat ambiguous, Sid is potentially identified as either Trevor's grandson or great-grandson, as suggested within the narrative. Anyways, he plays a pivotal role alongside the descendants of Trevor's other trusted allies, who collectively collaborate to confront and quell the resurrection of Dracula. Together they embark on a perilous quest to vanquish the malevolent Dracula, ensuring that the Belmont legacy endures in their valiant efforts to safeguard humanity from the forces of darkness. Desmond, Dolores, and Zoe Belmont. Desmond Belmont takes center stage as a protagonist in the mobile phone game Castlevania, Order of Shadows, armed with the vampire killer whip and an array of Belmont sub-weapons, including the cross and throwing axe. Desmond also wields unique sub-weapons such as the Platinum Blade and the Demon Sword. Set during the late 1600s, the narrative unfolds as a newly formed faction known as the Order, devout followers of the Dark Lord, embark on a perilous quest to resurrect Count Dracula. In exchange for their loyalty, they anticipate receiving unparalleled power and eternal life. Meanwhile, three siblings belonging to the ancient Belmont clan, renowned vampire hunters, namely Desmond, Zoe, and Dolores, discern the ominous connection between the Order and Dracula. As the siblings embark on their quest, Desmond boldly takes the lead, while his sisters pursue leads independently. Throughout their journey, Desmond and his sisters occasionally cross paths. Zoe, in a pivotal moment, bestows upon Desmond an alchemic gauntlet and provides guidance on their next steps. The trio eventually converges at the entrance of a sanctum. Within the inner sanctum, Desmond confronts Rohan Cross, the Order's leader and a prime suspect in the murder of his parents 2 decades earlier. Their fateful encounter culminates in a life-or-death battle, resulting in Desmond's acquisition of the legendary vampire killer whip. Regrettably, Cross's sacrificial act unwittingly catalyzes Dracula's resurrection, leading to a final showdown between Desmond and the newly revived Count. Ultimately, Desmond emerges victorious, leaving Dracula defeated. Following their triumphant exit from the castle, the Belmont siblings attempt to return to normalcy. However, Desmond's persistent unease compels him to revisit the castle days later, only to discover an unsettling truth that the castle remains intact, defying expectations of its collapse following Dracula's defeat. Sonia Belmont. Sonia Belmont, initially introduced as the daughter of Trevor and Sypha, took center stage in the now non-canon Castlevania Legends. Within the game's narrative, Sonia embarked on a perilous journey through Dracula's castle, accompanied by Alucard, a trusted ally of her parents. Sonia's powerful arsenal included soul weapons, fire spells, and the legendary Belmont vampire killer whip. Throughout their joint adventures, Alucard became a central figure in Sonia's life, with a blossoming love story between them. This union even bore fruit in the form of a child. However, Sonia's bloodline and her story faced an unfortunate fate, as developers decided to cancel her character, rendering her tale non-existent. Consequently, her son Victor never had the opportunity to star in his own game or continue the Belmont legacy in the Castlevania series. Marvelous verdict. The Belmont family is indeed the foundation of the Castlevania franchise, with each Belmont warrior being more powerful than their predecessor. With the release of the new Castlevania spin-off series on Netflix, it really remains to be seen how the Belmonts play a role in ridding the world of vampire nuisance. Now that we have come to the very end of this video, what do you think of Castlevania Nocturne? Even better, have you played all the Belmont characters from the Castlevania games? Let us know in the comment box below.